extra time. The last thing I want to say about my plate is that this is the government's evaluation of how to get the very basic nutrition that you need to fight disease, okay? This is not optimal nutrition. This is not how to be the healthiest you that you can be. This is the very basics that we need. So if our plate is missing these things on a regular basis, we're not getting all the nutrients that we need, okay?
Hey, Jesse, there's a question in the chat that asks, what is a good nutritional substitute for dairy?
Okay, so with dairy, again, we need calcium, we need fat. That is good for our brain and hormones. And then we need vitamins A, D, and they add most of those vitamins to the milk. So all that you're really getting from the milk itself is that calcium and the fat. So if you have a dairy alternative, all of those milks, like the almond milk and I love oat milk the best, you're going to get less of the saturated fats, but you'll still get some healthy fats. And then they put the same stuff they put in milk, those vitamins A and D, they will usually add that to those alternative milks. So what I suggest is don't get the ones that are sweetened if you're going to use it for things you would use milk with, because it's going to make it taste weird. It's not going to taste the same. Sweetened or vanilla is not going to make a good substitute for just cooking with milk. And you want to look for enriched. So that word enriched on the front is going to tell you that they put all those vitamins that are in the milk back in the alternative, okay? And what's really cool now is there's a lot of vegans out there, and so some of the vitamins that vegans need, those B vitamins, they even put those in the vegan milk. So like in my oat milk, they have all the B vitamins as well, instead of just the traditional vitamins that they put in regular milk. So
nice. There's also one more question that asks, if you have milk or dairy at breakfast, do you still need it at dinner?
Yeah. So I would say the milk or the milk alternative. We can go back up here to this Harvard My Plate. So this healthy eating plate right here, if you see this on here, this is the one that is made by Harvard, and there's no dairy on there at all, okay? But if you look at this vegetable section here, it's way bigger than this vegetable section. So if you are eating your dark leafy greens, you don't need your dairy at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But if you are not, you probably still need that calcium, especially our young women growing up, and our young men up until they're like 20, that's all the calcium you're going to get for your lifetime. Okay, you can't get any more as you get older. You're only going to decrease it at that point. So getting those kids that calcium is super important. Any other questions on my plate? And did that really answer your question? So if you have dairy at breakfast, I would say as long as you're eating some leafy greens at dinner time, you're going to be okay. If dairy doesn't agree with you, sometimes the fermented dairies like sour cream or yogurt, some people's tummies do better with that. So in the produce section, so like I said, we're going to go through a few little caveats that make my plate actually work from a nutrition standpoint. So the first, and I cannot see this here, you guys, produce should be half of your plate, fruits and vegetables every week. I mean, well, every meal. And then again, if you can't get fruit into a meal, you can have that as a snack or something in between. But basically, we want it to be half of what we eat. Okay? And so if we want it to be half of what we eat, it should be half of what you buy. So I don't just think about my plate, I think about my shopping cart. If you look at your shopping cart and there's no fruits and vegetables in there, you're not gonna be able to feed your kids fruits and vegetables. So go back, if you live getting ready to leave the grocery store, go back And if you're afraid you're not going to use all that fresh produce, buy some little frozen bags of veggies and add them to your macaroni and cheese, add them to your spaghetti, add them to anything that you're going to eat. Kids don't like fruit. That's an unusual one. So anyone have suggestions on how we can get fruit into kids that don't like fruit? I have a couple ideas, but I want to hear from you guys. Well, exactly. What about a smoothie? That's a good one. Alita, will your child eat smoothies?
No, not really. He doesn't like the taste of milk.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't like, he's a sensory, so like he doesn't like watermelon. He doesn't like melons and stuff like that. He doesn't like strawberry because of the seeds. So he might eat an apple, he may eat an orange, but that's about all I can do, and that's like forcing it on him. And he's 14, so you put it in the lunch and it might get eaten at school, it may not.
So at 14, he's old enough, I would say, that you can be like, you're going to have to eat some of this, but we'll figure out the best way. So at 14, he can say, you know what, I don't like that, or I don't like this, but find out what he's willing to try, and let him in the produce section of the grocery store pick out what he wants. Say, you have to pick out something that you're going to eat, pick out 2 pieces of fruit that you're going to eat. And then there's a lot of good suggestions on here. Putting bananas and peanut butter and jellies.
Here's the deal, is he can't have honey. He's allergic to honey, and he's allergic to all tree nuts. So it kind of limits, you know, making like granolas or stuff like that. So smoothies, people put honey in it sometimes, or other things like that. So I kind of limit it. He'll eat veggies all day long. I mean, he'll eat veggies all day long, but I can't get him to eat fruit. So.
Okay. Well, the nice thing about smoothies is you can make them however you want. So you don't have to worry about, you know, those are things that are tailorable, that you can make it however you like. My favorite is oat milk and blueberries. And then, oh, I forgot what else I was going to say. Yeah, try to focus on what he will do and what he will eat. Those juice blenders that they don't extract the juice out of the fruit, but they mix it all up together, like the Vitamix and things like that. Those make really good healthy popsicles. And also with fruit, a lot of the same vitamins in fruit are in vegetables as well. So like vitamin C and things like that, you can get those in a lot of it. I would say though, let him pick. Give him, say, pick out 3 things that you want to try this week, and then every week he can do it. Yeah. Kat says, give him the challenge to make a smoothie that he is proud of. Yeah. I would say at that age, forcing things on them is not good, but you can let him decide. Okay, second
we'll give it a try, see what happens.
The second caveat is eating the rainbow. Why do you think we want to eat a variety of different colors?
They're good for different parts of our body.
Yeah, we have, each has different micronutrients, more colors, each more nutrients. Yeah, so we're getting, with a variety of colors, we're getting a variety of all those different vitamins. A lot of orange fruit and vegetables have the same vitamins and minerals in them. So when we're eating the rainbow, we get all the different ones. The last caveat that we need to know is, potatoes and corn don't really count as vegetables. Sorry, but you can't get the nutrients you need by putting a potato on your plate every night and counting that as a vegetable. It's really a lot of starch, so it counts more as a grain. Okay, and same with corn. Ground corn counts as a grain if you're looking for a whole grain. Okay. Okay. So next, we're going to go into our ways to save money, and a lot of these you guys have talked about. Our first one is to buy in season. So when you talked about looking at the flyers and looking at the advertisement, those are always going to be things that are on sale. Like they're going to want to get rid of those quickly because they're ready to go. They have a bunch of them. They're in season. This chart that you see here, it will be in this book that we send you guys. So you can use a chart. If you don't have a chart handy and you didn't look at the ads, another way to tell when you walk in the produce section, you know how Walmart has like those little square ones that are in front of all the produce that's on the shelves? They have a big 2 or 3 big ones when you first walk in, and they're right in the front and they're square and they have a lot of produce on them. Those are usually going to be what's on season and on sale. So always stop by those first to see if you can get a better deal or replace something on your shopping list with some of those. And someone put a very big point here. So do you just buy frozen or other parts the rest of the year? So I'm going to show you our very next slide is, yeah, try fresh, frozen, and canned. Frozen, especially with things like peaches and berries, they're going to be 3 times cheaper most of the year, okay? And things with cans, they can be much less expensive. Some people don't want to eat the cans because they feel like it tastes not so good. But if you're trying to get your nutrition in, these are options for you. And you can see that the canned is usually going to be cheapest, but the frozen is another good option. When we are buying canned, we have to look for them to put extra added stuff in there. Does anybody have a problem with any of these 3 types of produce or have a preference? If you guys can either unmute or chat in.
I like doing the frozen, and then I like doing canned.
Frozen and canned. And why do you like to do frozen and canned?
So usually frozen, I'm dumping it in a meal, or sometimes it's a side, but usually I'm dumping them in, like if I make goulash, I dump the mixed veggies into it. Mm-hmm. Or, you know, chicken and dumplings, I dump the veggies into it.
And that makes it, what, it's way faster and easier, right, than chopping up the fresh vegetables?
Yeah, and it's just easier.
Yeah.
And then the frozen, they have the frozen microwavable steamers and stick them in the microwave.
Mm-hmm. It's very convenient. One great thing about frozen is that all that nutrition that's in that food is frozen in there. Like it is, when we get a peach that has been driven around the country for 2 weeks and then left in a storehouse for 3 days and then brought to our grocery store, that nutrition has declined in that peach every single day. When you get a frozen peach, they take that peach from the fields, process it, and freeze it right away. So all that nutrition is going to be in there, okay? Because I noticed someone said fresh is best. Sometimes it definitely tastes best, but as far as nutrition goes, it's not always the top of the line. People think that it's bad, but it's just as good, and all these different forms count towards our food group. I'm looking at some more comments real fast. Cans have syrup in them, that's true. Is canned food significantly inferior to fresh, especially when it comes to enzymes? So I'm not sure, Melinda, what you mean by when it comes to enzymes. The enzymes that are important in our food are actually the enzymes that our body makes. And that's what's going to break down the food and help digest it and process it. Canned food, the only concern with canned food is that with some acidic fruits like that they can leach. They can put a little bit of the lining chemicals of the can into the fruit or vegetables. But as far as nutrition goes, it's not gonna, it's gonna still have all the nutrition. Looking at cans, like someone pointed out, is that they can add stuff to it. So with fruit, often they're gonna add sugar, they're gonna put it in that syrup. With vegetables, we're gonna look more for the sodium here, okay? And in general, when we're reading labels, we wanna look at this top number here, the saturated fat. We want that to be very low, and the trans fat we want to be 0. Okay? Usually all the good stuff is at the bottom down here. So we want to look for this to be high in protein and high in vitamins and minerals. Not enzymes, fiber, and phytonutrients. So yes, there is more, there can be more phytonutrients, but there's going to be the same enzymes and fiber in canned food. Okay. So I got distracted by the top. Okay, so I'm going to move this back down. So number 1 when reading at camps, so we don't trick ourselves, is we're going to look at the serving size. Okay, so I got a can of Chef Boyardee here, and the serving size is 1 cup. So about half of this can. Okay, so first thing I do before I look at the label, I'm going to say, am I going to eat a half a can or am I going to eat a whole can? And if I'm going to eat a whole can, I'm just going to double all these numbers that are on here. Okay, figuring out how much 2/3 of a cup is harder. I just look at how many servings are per container and then just figure it out that way. So either multiply or divide as needed. Yes, it does make me mad that they trick you on the servings, and they will try to trick you. A big one is with this trans fat. They make the serving so small that they can say there's no trans fat in there, but if you see that word hydrogenated on the label, there's still trans fat in there. They just tweak the math enough. Okay, so real quick practice. What's the price difference between the peaches in 100% juice and the peaches in heavy syrup? Okay, the price is exactly the same, right? Same price. Okay, now let's look at the serving size. Okay, 3.5 servings per can. How many of you would eat 1/3 of a can or less of peaches? You can do your emojis if you want. You would eat 1/3 or less, okay. Less, you would? Okay. That's good that you would eat 1/3 or less. For me, I wouldn't. I would I would probably dump out the juice and eat the whole can of peaches. If I had my 2 kids, I was serving them, I would give one kid half a can and another kid half a can. So they would eat about half. Look at, oh, Sabrina said she would eat the whole can. Earl said he would eat the whole can. So a couple more said the whole can. Okay. So what's nice about these labels is they show you per container and per serving. So for us that would eat a whole can, like me, how many grams of added sugars in 1 can? How much sugar do they add to it? Okay, 42 grams. So the way to figure out how much that is in a tangible amount is to divide that by 4. So that's going to be 10.5 teaspoons of sugar in this can of peaches. Okay. Do kids love peaches in juice? Right? The kids don't care usually. From my experience, maybe with applesauce they want all that sugar, but most kids, if you just gave them the peaches and juice, they would eat that up. They'd be happy. Okay. There's no reason to buy this unless we just aren't looking and we just grab it off the shelf. Okay. So the point is, we gotta look. Okay. Well, you can have the whole can, Rachel. You just get the one with the juice. Oops. Okay, with vegetables, we're gonna look for the sodium, okay? So they'll usually say it right on the front, no sodium or no salt added, but if they don't have that on the front, you can look on the back. But if you can't find, usually if you can't find the sodium one, what you're gonna do is you're just gonna take that can before you use it, you're gonna dump it in a little strainer, you're gonna rinse it off with cold water, and then you automatically have half the sodium that was in that can. So you're cutting it in half just by rinsing it, okay? With frozen veggies, usually you don't have to worry about additives, but this one has this soy sauce and sugar and different things in it, and that is coming from the little sauce packets in the frozen veggies. So at Cooking Matters, we have a really good Asian sauce recipe, so you don't have to put as much sugar in it to make it taste good. Okay? You can just buy a regular, and this bag will also cost more than a plain bag of it.
Also, Jessie, there was a question in the chat that says, if you cook fruit with a protein, does that cook away any of the nutrients?
Not because it's cooked with a protein. So some fruit, when you cook it, it loses nutrients. Okay, but what's also amazing is some fruit, when you cook it, it increases how available those nutrients are to your body. So raw is not always better. Sometimes cooked is better. Carrots is one that is great cooked, and sweet potatoes, like certain things. Fruit, you're really going to get that vitamin C a lot from fruit. So for the most part, fruit is going to be better raw, but cooking it, the protein is not going to affect that at all. Okay. Last tip on buying produce is to buy bulk and to buy whole, okay? We can use these unit prices here to compare, because the retail price, the retail price doesn't really tell us which one is a better deal, it just tells us which one is less money. But when we're trying to find the best deal, we're gonna look at the unit price, okay? Walmart will trick you on the unit price, because it will say something like per bag instead of per apple. You gotta be careful at Walmart. But Fry's is really good about putting the unit price like in a way that they're not trying to trick you. The other tip is to buy whole. So we're not going to pay them to chop up our vegetables for us. We'll teach you in the family meals like how to chop vegetables really quick so you have them all ready. To buy baby carrots, who knows where baby carrots come from?
Big carrots.
Yeah. They come from big carrots. They're not some magical plant that grows that we need to pay, you know, $1.50 or more per pound for. All they do is they take that carrot and they put it through a machine and it makes it into small carrots. So if the only way you can get your kids to eat carrots is by buying baby carrots, that's fine. But you can also peel them and shred them up. And all that is doing is it's taking that skin off that isn't as sweet. And it's making it so the carrots taste sweeter to us. I don't really like to buy the bags of baby carrots because once they take that skin off, they dry out really fast. And so what do you see in the bag of baby carrots? Anybody? I can't see the chat for some reason. I just noticed that they're always sitting in a bag of water, which I don't really want to eat produce that's been sitting in a bag of water for a month. That's just my opinion. Oh, here's our chat back. The chat back up. Yeah, very white and dry in a bag of water. White chalky residue, dry carrots. Yeah, so we're gonna get a yummier carrot in the long run if we buy the carrot and peel it ourselves, or you let the kids peel it because they're gonna have fun doing that. Yeah, involving the kids in the kitchen is a good way to get this done for you. You don't have to pay for someone to do it. Here is the unit pricing when there's no math required, when then they have that in the little corner, the little unit price. You don't have to do the math. If it's not there, have your child with the calculator handy, your favorite child that loves math and who is diligent about making sure you're shopping right. There's usually one in every family. You're gonna take unit price is price per unit. So we see our price is $1.99, and when we hear the word per, think divided by, and put that little symbol there, divided by the unit. So price, $1.99 per unit per 15 ounces, and then it'll give you the unit price. This is going pretty quickly here, so I'm gonna zoom through a couple of these. I don't wanna bore anybody. One way we teach to save money in class is just to, instead of buying a whole jar of tomato sauce, buy a can of tomatoes and then look at these spices that are on here on this label of tomato sauce and just add those to your can of sauce to make it more yummy, and you can save usually about $2 that way. Juice. So we know that 100% juice is going to be better, right? WIC only lets us buy 100% juice. What can we do? So the juice is going to be more expensive than the juice cocktail, the fake juice. So what do we do to make this juice worth it? Something that we're told to do anyway for a nutrition reason. Does anyone know?
Real quick, Jesse, there was a question in the chat about buying bulk and any tips on how we can store produce.
Yes, so I actually have a whole class on how to store produce. So I can send you, who was that? Any tips?
Sabrina.
Sabrina, okay. Sabrina, if you type in your email at the end, I can send you a whole chart on the best ways to store produce. We have a whole chart on it, we have a whole class on it, and I'm gonna invite you guys to our other classes later as well. But, oh, no, here, you won't even have to email me. It's in this book that I'm gonna send you guys. It goes every fruit and vegetable, the best way to store it so it's gonna last longer. The key usually is to keep it dry so that it doesn't get moldy inside, okay? Find new messages. Oh. Yes, everyone's gonna get the chart with the book and all of that too, okay? Oh, we're gonna keep our vegetables and stuff dry. So you're gonna pat your lettuces and stuff dry before you put it in the refrigerator. You're gonna wash it, pat it dry, and certain ones you put in containers and certain ones you put in the crisper. But that's all, that will all be in here. Okay. Real quickly, back to the juice, because I don't see it in the chat. All we do with our 100% juice is we add a little water to it. So that extra 50 cents, you know, if you're adding like a third of a cup of water to 2/3 of a cup of juice, you're already going to be saving like $4 per gallon. So adding a little bit of water to it, it slows down the sugar that's going to be, we're pumping into our kids when we give them juice. And then it's also going to make that comparable price to this juice that is just no good for it. One of the activities we do in class is looking at all the sugar. So that this is 8 grams of sugar per cup. So divided by 4, that's going to be 2 teaspoons per cup of juice, and a cup is really only this much. So that's a lot of sugar per cup. And juice naturally already has sugar in it, so adding even more is not going to help. Okay. produce is our longest section, and we're right at 7 o'clock, so we're halfway through. Anybody have any questions? You can either chat, or I'm okay with you guys unmuting yourself as long as we don't all do it at once. Melanie likes to add mineral water from Manitou Springs. Yes, mineral water or any kind of bubbly water can make your juice into a sparkling beverage instead of just juice. Any other questions on produce or any other tips that you guys didn't hear me share that you have on saving money on produce? Maybe. Okay. We're going to move through dairy then. Sorry, I see one more question. The canned and cut fruit with Splenda. Yeah, so if you need that extra sweetness in your fruit, Splenda is a sugar alternative that can reduce the amount of sugar. But really, remember, fruit is sweet. Fruit is the one thing we shouldn't have to add sugar to because it's so I think it's so delicious. If you haven't found your favorite fruit yet, try new ones. Just try a new one every week at this. Okay, so dairy, we talked about this. Dairy, we need fat, calcium, vitamins A and D. That's what we need out of our dairy, okay? Babies need that saturated fat, that really thick fat that's in dairy. Adults, we do not need that as much. So as we get older, we want to look for less saturated fat in our dairy, and we also want to watch out for added sugars in our dairy, okay? The dairy that has the extra sugar in it will be our flavored milks, like our chocolate milk, our vanilla almond milk, our vanilla oat milk, and then our yogurts. Okay, so what is the price difference here, right? Nada, okay. What is our difference in saturated fats? Okay, 3 grams here does not look like a lot, right? We think 3 grams of saturated fat, no big deal. Okay, but look at the percentage next to it. Okay. So if you had a cup of whole milk, you're gonna get 1/4 of all the saturated fat you can have for the day. If you drink a cup of 1% milk, you can drink 10 of those in a day and get the same amount of saturated fat. So I'm really gonna quickly share. Okay. I'm going to show you these cups that Cookie Matters sent me national, and I think they're really cool. Okay, how many of you guys can see this? Whoop, okay. I want it to so you can see the yellow part. Okay, it's not working. I'm going to show you where the yellow part is. The yellow part is here. Okay, so this is your whole milk. Okay, about half of this is saturated fat. Okay, saturated fat is the one that is a little bit harder on our heart and our cardiovascular system. Make it hard to pump all that around. Okay. This one is skim milk. No, this is 1%. So 1% only has this much saturated fat in it. Okay. So instead of drinking all of this fat right up to here that you don't need, you're going to only get about this much. Okay. It's hard to transition to a low-fat milk. But what we recommend is mix it a little bit. So like don't go from whole to skim, you know, go from whole to 2%, mix that in for a week, then go from 2 to 1 and mix that in for a week. Anybody have any questions about that? Skim is gross, but honestly, you'll get used to it after a while. I don't go all the way down to skim. I go down to about 1% because we do need a little bit of fat, and I don't drink that much dairy, so it's not a big deal. If you drink whole milk, it's fine. You just have to remember that you're not going to have as much of that throughout the day because that's a lot of saturated. Another thing, I started buying the oat milk because it's thick and creamy like the whole milk. but it has 0 saturated fat in it. And it's, like I said, it has all those vitamins in it that vegans don't get and stuff like that. I'm not vegetarian anymore, but I was for a long time. And so I like getting those nutrients however I can. But some of those milk alternatives are nice and thick. I'm gonna put back up. I'm trying to scroll through my PowerPoint and it's not there.
There was a question about whether or not, what about milk straight from the cow?
So milk straight from the cow, it has some enzymes in it and things that regular milk won't have, but it's also, there's a risk in it because it's not pasteurized. So I know a lot of people who they claim health benefits for that raw milk. But, oh, I forgot where I keep looking at the chat and distracted me. So, what were we saying? Oh, straight from the cow. Yeah. So some people claim that it has all these other health nutrients. The government will say that the milk is not pasteurized, that it could have bacteria or germs in it. I really think that getting what you need from milk that's not straight from a cow, just regular milk, you're gonna have it. Does oat milk have enough calcium for kids? You have to look at the oat milk you're buying and see how much calcium is in it and turn that label around and compare. Not every food label will have calcium on it, but milk is one that will definitely be there. So you can compare milk by looking at, you can compare calcium in milk by looking at the label. If all of our foods are better closer to the source, why is milk any different? Only because of the pasteurization process. So bacteria, there's often like blood, germs. So they just do that to kill the germs is what they're trying to do. And yes, it has been only in the last century. However, people throughout time have not really been drinking cow milk. That's more of like an emergency thing, especially for babies. Goat milk is more digestible for humans. Their milk is more similar to ours. Not all humans have the enzymes to break down cow milk. That's why it doesn't agree with a lot of people. Okay, there's a lot we could talk about milk. But the main thing is we want to watch out for that saturated fat. The yogurts. Catherine, I'll probably have you keep an eye on the chat because it keeps distracting me. So I'm going to put it down and you tell me if there's something if someone has a question.
Yeah, not a problem.
Okay. Our ways to save money on yogurt is to buy this bigger container, is always going to be cheaper. Okay. But don't let vanilla fool you. Vanilla flavoring also means extra sugar, just like strawberry or lime or whatever kind of flavor it is. Vanilla is still one where they add a lot of sugar to it. Plain yogurt is going to be the healthiest, and if you can get Greek plain yogurt, it costs a little bit more, but you buy it in this big container. And what's so great about Greek yogurt is all the protein that it has in it. It has crazy amounts of protein. And you can see here, they don't add any sugar to that, so it's going to be sour. You can see that the vanilla non-fat yogurt, they add 28 grams of sugar to in 8 ounces and 18 in the strawberry yogurt. So it's just a ton of sugar they add to yogurt. And even if you want to buy a yogurt that has flavor in it, what we suggest is try to find something that is close to having more protein than sugar, okay? So if you have to get something with sugar in it, look for a high protein, okay? If you can get Greek yogurt and add a little bit of honey or fruit, is really good. We also replace our sour cream with Greek yogurt in class because sour cream doesn't have any protein, and as you can see, this Greek yogurt that has 18 grams of protein. That is quite a bit for anybody. It's a good way to do that too. Cheese. Okay, cheese is one that I have a hard time with because like everyone says they don't like the taste of skim milk, it's gross. I find the taste of skim cheese extremely gross. And when you look at, they take the fat out of the cheese here. So this one has less fat. It only has 3.5 grams, but they're gonna replace all that flavor with this here, with the sodium. Okay? So they're going to be adding tons of more sodium to replace the flavor. So what I like to do and what I teach my folks is to buy a very sharp cheese. Instead of buying a low-fat cheese, buy a very sharp cheese that has a lot of flavor, and then just use a little tiny bit of it, okay? It's easy to buy a sharp cheese and say you're gonna use a tiny bit of it, and then use a whole bunch anyway. So, you know, on your cheese grater, there's like the big side that you usually grate with, and then there's that skinny side. Use that skinny side, and it'll look like a lot of cheese, but it'll really be just a little bit of cheese. And if you get extra sharp, it has all that flavor, okay? I did dairy pretty quickly because this gets kind of long after we do produce. So is there any questions on dairy? Without getting into all the grossness about some people's opinions about milk. Because I know there's a lot. I have my own as well. Oh, Melanie makes her own yogurt at home. That would be a really wonderful thing, Melanie, if you can share with Deborah and have her send it out to the team. I used to do that with, you know how WIC gives you like 17 gallons of milk every month? I would not know how, I don't drink milk. I put it in things. So using those, all those gallons of milk wasn't very useful for me. So I would make the yogurt as well. And then you get a yummy yogurt with less sugar. Greek yogurt makes me gag. Okay, so how the Greeks eat it is they put it in, they put a little bit of honey in it. And another way you can use it is just hide it in things. Hide it in a smoothie, hide it in, use it as sour cream. If you use it as sour cream, it won't make you gag. You'll be like, oh, sour cream. Okay. Grains. Okay, our nutrition caveat. So we're gonna put grains on our plate, but, okay. What we wanna remember, nutrition-wise, is half of our grains should be whole grains, okay? That means no enriched flour. No, it doesn't mean no, but it means half of your stuff can have the enriched flour and the white bread, white spaghetti, white grains, and then the other half has to be whole grains, okay? And that's a bare minimum. That's the government, as I said, doing us a favor, trying to give us the basic guidance. You can go above and beyond by eating all whole grains, especially if you have diabetes. It's really important, okay? Second caveat is wheat is not the only grain. Okay, a lot of people, we get stuck on bread and pasta, and that's the only grains that we eat, but we can't forget about rice. We can't forget about the grains you can put in soup like barley. And then of course, the new big famous one is quinoa, which is really good for you. When we eat a whole grain, this is a whole grain, it has this outer bran here, which has a lot of nutrients. It also has a special kind of fiber that cleans our intestines as it moves through our intestines. So it's gonna take yuck and gunk out. And in here is a germ. So when they talk about healthy fats and not healthy fats, where the saturated fat in meat and dairy is going to be not quite as healthy, this fat here in the germ of the grain is extremely good for you. And it also has B vitamins in it. So the fiber I didn't talk about fiber much when we talked about fruits and vegetables, but that is an important part of fruits and vegetables is fiber. So we're going to take 1 minute to talk about fiber. Everybody knows one thing about fiber and why it's good for you, right? It helps keep us regular, right? There's so many other good reasons to eat fiber. So real quickly, put in the chat, I want you guys to type in things people in America die from. I know this sounds horrible, but think about the kind of things people in the United States end up dying from. Cancer, heart attack, diabetes, heart disease, COPD is not one, that one's over here. Stroke, yeah. Okay, so you guys got the top five here. Cancer, heart disease, and other cardiovascular diseases like stroke, diabetes, and cancer, okay? Fiber is your greatest enemy against all of those things, okay? Fiber will reduce your cholesterol. It'll slow down the rate that sugar is going into your blood. So if you're a diabetic, the fiber that you're getting from your fruits and vegetables and your whole grains is what's going to keep that sugar from just rushing into your body and affecting your insulin resistance, okay? So fiber is good, not just to help you poop. It's good for your heart and your longevity, okay? I don't know if we have any fellas or children present, but it also helps our fellas as they get older in those special ways. When we want to try to find the whole grains, so there's two ways, okay? On the outside of a package, if it says 100% whole grain, then we know that that is actually whole grain. But if it just says whole wheat on the outside, or whole grains, or multigrain, or anything like that on the package, chances are it's not actually a whole grain. So we're gonna flip it over in the back, and if it's wheat, this word whole will appear first word in the ingredients. So when you're trying to pick a bread, you're gonna flip it over and look for that word whole there, okay? Looking at these breads, which one do you guys think is the healthiest? You can just type in 1, 2, or 3. We'll go country white being 1, multigrain being 2, 100% whole wheat being number 3. Some 2s, some 3s, 2, 3, 2. Okay, so we all agree the white bread, okay? I want you to look at the price right here though, so real fast. So $2.59 or $1.59, and then we're gonna look at the label, okay? So what is the first ingredient on this multigrain bread? It says enriched wheat flour. And this one is going to be our whole wheat flour, okay? So this is going to have more fiber. And this multigrain, just because they put oats, and so they'll put oats and seeds on the outside to make it look healthier, and they'll dye it brown to make it look healthier as well. But it's not necessarily healthier, and it's going to cost more. So don't always just go for the prettiest one. Go for the 100% whole grain or whole wheat. The fiber comparing sourdough bread, there's not going to be a lot of fiber in sourdough because it is that enriched flour. So we want to try to find the whole wheat flour. We eat white bread for other reasons, like sourdough is delicious, right? So we want to eat sourdough every once in a while. That's where that half of your grains need to be whole grains come in handy. So you don't have to always eat white bread. If you don't like whole wheat bread, try eating rice and other whole grains and whole wheat pasta. For me, I don't like whole wheat pasta. I think it has a grainy texture. So for me, I always buy 100% whole grain or whole wheat bread.
There was a question about how much fiber should we be getting daily?
Okay, so I believe it's about 15 grams for women. We can Google that real fast. I don't have that straight up in my head, but an important thing, while I look that up, a thing to remember is that they have that fiber drink that you can drink, and a lot of people think that drinking that is going to get all your fiber in. Unfortunately, they put a lot of sugar in that, and they put a lot of other stuff in it, and then it doesn't have all the good, like all the other stuff that's in fruits and vegetables other than fiber, so it doesn't have all the juice and all the other things. And so if you do use a fiber that you put in a liquid, just make sure that you drink a lot of water afterwards. It can help, but it's not going to be as good as eating vegetables. So women, 25 grams of fiber, and men, 38 grams. So men even more. But if you are eating half whole grains and you're eating fruits and vegetables, you don't have to worry about those numbers. That's what's so nice about my plate, is you just kind of go generally by that, and you think, okay, I'm getting whole grains in half the day, and I am getting all my fruits and vegetables in. Okay, you won't have to worry about all the calories. All these are other excellent grains that you can experiment with and cook with. My favorite is going to be quinoa, because it cooks faster and is easier to not burn than rice, and it has more protein and less sugar. Barley goes really good in soups. Flax meal, it needs to be ground to really get the benefits of it, but you can put it in smoothies and things like that.
There was a question in the chat, is unbleached flour different from whole wheat?
Yes, so unbleached or enriched, when you see those words, it's not necessarily a whole grain. So they're not bleaching it, they're not turning it white, but they are taking off that bran and those oils out of it, so that it's more processed, and that's how they make it look white. When you look at the whole grain, that middle part that's white, they don't have to bleach that part if they take the other parts out. So yes, so unbleached and enriched don't really count. By saying enriched, they're saying, oh, we take the vitamins out and then we put them back in. Yeah, they do put some vitamins back in, especially the ones that we need, that Americans don't get, the B vitamins, but at the same time, there's other good stuff that you're not getting from the.
Also, there was a question about what category do grits fall into?
Grits is a grain, so grits is a ground corn. So like hominy, so just like a corn tortilla is also what can count towards your whole grain. Whole wheat tortillas are a little bit more expensive, so I generally use corn, and grits count as that as well. These little crackers and Goldfish are up here because they make whole grain Goldfish, they make whole grain Triscuits, and they make whole grain grits crackers now. So a lot of your snacky foods, they make them whole grain, so you just have to look really carefully. Anytime you go to buy a cracker, look if there's a whole grain option, because the whole grain grits, I think, are really good. I think they taste just as good as the regular ones. The kids have not noticed the Goldfish, so at our school, we gave them the whole grain one instead of the regular Goldfish. Nobody, not a single kid said anything. Oh, and other grains that are not wheat, they might not say whole on the outside, okay? They might just say oats, like oats are whole naturally. Quinoa is not gonna say whole grain quinoa, it's just gonna say quinoa, okay? It's wheat is the one we need to look for it to say whole, and then rice, we want it to say brown. Buy an oatmeal in this big container. I know that these are so convenient, so incredibly convenient, but if you're trying to save money, you can really save money and sugar by buying these whole. I was for a little while when I would buy the sweet ones, because I needed them for convenience. I was a single mom, and oatmeal was so easy. The kids loved it. I would take a packet of the original plain, and then take a packet of the sweet and just put a little bit of the sweet oatmeal in with the other packet. So I would buy the 2 boxes, I'd buy plain, and then I'd buy the maple syrup one, and then just put a little bit of the maple syrup one in the other ones. But I've gotten good enough that I can make oatmeal. I don't know if anyone had McDonald's oatmeal. It's It's pretty delicious. Okay, so to make a McDonald's oatmeal, raisins, so they'd use the multicolored raisins. Raisins can be expensive, but if you buy them once, you don't have to buy them for a while, as long as you don't let your kids get into them, stick them up in the pantry high. And then cut up apples, so like a tangy apple, like a golden apple or a green apple, and raisins in that oatmeal. It makes it taste exactly like McDonald's oatmeal. Oh, and I put a tiny bit of brown sugar. But even if you put a little bit of brown sugar, it's going to be way less than what's in those other packets.
There was another question. Sorry, it was beans and legumes. Are they grains?
Okay, so beans and legumes, they are considered a protein, okay? But they do have some carbohydrates in them like grains do, okay? But we consider them a protein because they are more protein than grain. And same with legumes as well. Cereals, okay. This is the hardest one when you're in the shopping aisle. I would say if you can, take my suggestion with oatmeal and just make oatmeal or make a homemade granola. But we know cereal is convenient, okay? So looking at these, let's do another pretty quick quiz. Which one of these do you guys think is the healthiest? Put in a little chat. And I lost my chat. If you want to shout some out. Wait, now you see it here. I'm trying to move my things around so I can see all your faces and see everything. 11101. Someone said Raisin Bran. A couple of people said Raisin Bran. Okay. So Raisin Bran has a worse sugar count. Okay, so Michelle, she knows, maybe, I don't know if you've taken our class before, but you know, it's true. Raisin Bran has more sugar in it than this fruity cereal, okay? And it's solely because they put all that sugar on the raisins, okay? So you would be better off buying, this is a whole grain, right? But for the amount of sugar they put in it, you're not getting that benefit of the sugar being slowed down. So this plain oat cereal, I'll look at the label here. Yeah, how many grams of added sugar in the plain oat cereal? 0. The colorful has 12, and then the Raisin Bran has 18, which is crazy to imagine. The one thing about the Raisin Bran cereal is it has that fiber in it, okay? So one way you can kind of judge with these sugars is look at your total carbohydrates and subtract the fiber, and then think about how much is in there, okay? In this situation, it's still a lot, but say this was 46 grams of carbohydrates and 35 grams of fiber, those carbohydrates are not gonna be quite so bad for you, okay? The fiber is gonna make it better and make it slow down, okay? And it gives you, by slowing it down, I mean, it gives you all day to burn those rather than the hour to burn them before it turns into fat. So it gives you throughout the day to burn your calories off when you have that fiber. Okay, real quick. Okay, just to get the point across of how much sugar is in our cereal. So this is our plain oat cereal, okay? 0 grams of sugar in here, okay? With our, I think it was 18 with our, no, it was 16 with our sugar cereal and 18 with the other one. So real fast, 16 divided by 4, okay, is gonna be 4 teaspoons, okay? So I'm gonna dump, this is only a cup of cereal, which is the serving size. I'm gonna dump my teaspoon of sugar on my cereal, right? Okay, that's about how much my parents would let me have as a kid, right? That's like still a lot of sugar, but it's not a lot, okay? This is how much I would want to dump on there. If I was a kid, I would want to put 2 when I was a kid, okay? So now there's like a nice thick coating of sugar all over my cereal. And then imagine with that fruity cereal, we're just gonna go ahead and add 2 more, okay? And then we have like literally now a pile of sugar on top of our cereal. So when you're tempted to just go buy a sugar cereal because it's cheap, think about how much you would let your kids sit there and pour on their cereal, because it's going to be a lot more. Oh, and then if we get Raisin Bran here, we'll just throw like a couple more on there, you know, and so it gets really bad. Okay, you can do this with your drinks too, when you're going to think about like a sugary beverage like a Gatorade. So you take the grams of sugar, divide it by 4, that's how many teaspoons of sugar you're getting. Okay, do it with your drinks, do it with your Gatorade and your chocolate milks, and just see, pour it into a cup and just see. It's amazing. We said, haha, bring on the regular Cheerios. Yes. And how else can we make the Cheerios super yummy? Because my grandpa used to do this for me when he'd see me pour in all that sugar on my cereal. Honey? There's one that's my favorite. Bananas. Yeah, bananas is my favorite on cereal. So any kind of fruit, but kids love the picture, you know, they want to buy the cereal because it has a cool picture on it, but they also like the Cheerio box because it'll show it with pictures of strawberries on it and stuff like that. So one strawberry is all you need to make it look like the picture and make the kids want to eat it. And I think bananas are sweet, berries, all that good stuff. There's so many ways to make it delicious without adding 8 tablespoons of sugar. Okay. Our last section, this is our last one. We're getting close to the end, and then we'll do a little challenge where you guys can talk to each other more. Protein. Okay. Our caveats with protein are going to be similar to that with dairy. We want less saturated fat. Okay. So the phrases, if you look for round or loin or leg, those cuts are going to have less fat on them. So sirloin, bottom round, that kind of thing, those are going to be more of the muscle part of the meat rather than the fat part. Okay. Another one my vegan coworker likes to say is less feet, better meat. So you go from cow meat with cows got 4 legs down to turkey with 2 legs, and then fish with no legs, and then beans with no legs. It gets better. And variety is important. So not just eating chicken all the time, because you're going to get, with that red meat, you are going to get some good heme protein and some things in it that you're not going to get from the white meat. So on occasion, meat has gotten so expensive. Yes, I have actually stopped eating meat since I moved to Colorado. Not meat, but beef. We only eat turkey and chicken now because beef is very expensive. And pork gets a bad rap because of all the fat it has in it, but it does have a lot of good B vitamins in it. So if you're feeling low on energy, your body's not processing your carbohydrates well, pork has some good, really bioavailable B vitamins. So it's not always bad, it's just something you want to eat less of. So we want to eat our leaner meats more and our more saturated meats less. Okay. So we're talking about price. This price difference is huge, okay, for a little bit less fat. But there is a way, if we can't afford to pay $6 a pound for our beef, to make this comparable to this in our cooking process. And probably some of you do it all the time. Who knows what we should do while we're cooking this to get some of the meat out? I mean, some of the fat out. Sorry, it's late at night. You guys don't always have to chat. I don't mind if some people want to unmute and just kind of talk either. It doesn't bother me as long as we don't all do it. Strain, drain, drain, we add oats. Okay. Cheaper to buy a half or whole cow or pig. True, very true. So you can buy at the farmer's market or through a farm a whole half of a pig or a cow and save a lot of money that way. It's 100 times cheaper. Draining the meat off. Yeah, so we know when we start cooking the hamburger, the more fat is in there, the more of that grease and goo and stuff is going to be at the bottom of the pan. So we're just going to dump that out into a container or with hot running water in our sink, and bam, you're getting rid of a whole bunch of that fat. Turkey, here, this is the same percent fat, the 7%, but $2 cheaper per pound. So this is what I buy since I moved to Colorado, is ground turkey. And you can look here. So there is a huge difference in this. This would be less than a quarter of your saturated fat for the day eating that lean beef. And this would be almost half eating the fattier beef. But if you dump out the fat in the pan, you're going to get about half. And for time's sake, I put all these on one big slide. So a whole chicken is going to be cheaper per pound than some pretty chicken breasts. Chicken legs, chicken quarters are going to be way cheaper as well, okay? With a whole chicken, a lot of people don't know how to cook a whole chicken. So real fast, you can look up roasting, and you can literally take the chicken, rinse it off, put some oil on it and stick it in the oven, and bam, you have a roasted chicken. You don't have to pay for the roasted chicken. Or you can put it in a pot of boiling water and let it boil until it breaks down, and then take it back out and shred it all up and take the bones off. That's a lot of work. But when I make whole chickens in class that I buy frozen versus the ones you get in like the hot ones in the bag at the store, those are super convenient as well. I got twice as much meat off of the frozen chicken as I did off of the roasted chicken from the store for the same price. So it's really going to be a lot more, and then you can save that as well. Anyone asked you what you want for Christmas? These roaster, it's like a machine that you just put your chicken on, and you shut the door and you press a button and it roasts your chicken for you. Those are really great. I don't have one, but my friend has one that does 2 chickens at the same time, and she does that once a week, and she has all her chicken and puts it in different dishes. Let's see. We love whole chickens and use the bones to make a stock. Exactly. Cutting it up. And someone also mentioned mixing it with oats. So the ground meats, you can take like a potato or a sweet potato or a zucchini or a carrot, really any kind of like thick, hearty vegetable, shred that up and then put it in your meat when you're cooking it. And it sounds weird, but if you are like making tacos and you like put a shredded sweet potato in with your ground turkey and then add a whole bunch of spices, you're going to get less saturated fat. Your meat is going to stretch. It's going to cost less. You're going to get your vegetables in. And if you add enough spices, no one's going to know. So if you're one of those people with 8 people in your family, consider adding to it oats or sweet potatoes or carrots into your ground beef or ground turkey. Eggs, peanut butter, fish, all good protein. Beans. So we don't want to forget about beans. So someone asked about if beans are a carbohydrate or not. They are considered a protein. And if you look at this bag of black beans, okay, so this says $1.99 a pound, but usually they're $1. Any kind of dried beans, a pound is going to be $1. And when you cook this, your 1 pound of beans is going to turn into 3 pounds of vegetable, yeah, I'm getting tired. 1 pound of beans makes 3 pounds of beans when they're cooked, okay? So this $1 bag of black beans is going to be 30 cents a pound you're going to pay for your protein, versus beef is going to be $6 a pound. And then you're getting a healthier protein. It is good to eat that red meat every once in a while, but for the most part, if you think of beans as a reliable protein source and eat that 3 or 4 days out of the week, it's going to help you, and you're going to save a lot of money. A big crock pot of pinto beans twice a week. Yeah. They keep so much skin on the chicken pieces, I hate paying for it. True, and chicken skin has a lot of fat in it, And when you buy those roaster chickens too, all that skin on it's going to have all the salt, like tons and tons of salt that you don't need. So yeah, sometimes it's nice to buy the chicken ones peeled. I tend to give the skin to my kids or my dog because, like we said, kids need more fat than we do, and dogs, cooked chicken skin is like heaven. But beans, don't forget, if you need protein and your family needs protein, you don't have to go buy a big thing of meat for every single meal, okay? You can get their protein from eggs and peanut butter and dairy and beans, okay? So I was a vegetarian for 25 years and I got pregnant with twins and needed meat in my life. But I'm at a point now where my husband thinks a meal is not a meal without meat in it. And so I'm trying to kind of school him a little bit and retrain. Anybody have any questions about protein? No? So now we're going to do our breakout groups. We are going to, so this is your $10 challenge, okay? And usually I would make each family do this, but since we have such a big group and you guys haven't gotten to talk a lot, Catherine, if you want to put people into groups of about 4, not right this second, but what we're going to do is you need to think of a meal that has all 5 food groups, okay, and close to the proper proportion that you can feed 4 people in for under $10, okay? And so when you guys get into a group, you're going to think of it. There's going to be a bonus for using a grain other than wheat, and there's going to be a bonus for the yummiest meal. Not really like a monetary bonus. It's just going to be like, yay, you did it. You thought of something really yummy. Okay. And so when you get into your little groups, one of you, chances are one person's going to be a talker. Okay. If no one starts talking first, just somebody be brave and get the group talking so that you can report back that you guys are done.
Okay, so for breakout room 1, that was Alita, Amanda, Ansel, Amanda Archuleta, and Amber Foster. Who would like to present?
So we decided to do goulash with, it was lentil pasta, I think she said. Amanda Archuleta. Did I get that right? Sorry.
Yes. Yeah, lentil pasta,
Okay.
the gluten-free pasta.
Okay, so it's gluten-free pasta with ground hamburger and we have mixed veggies anywhere from mushrooms to broccoli to peas and carrots, onions, and then your crushed tomatoes and your tomato sauce, tomato paste. So, and then top it off with cheese.
Okay. And so what is your grain in there then?
The gluten-free, the pasta.
Okay.
Well,
okay, so
would only be
lentils.
I realized after the fact that
Alright.
that would count as protein.
Okay, so real fast team, what is another type of gluten-free pasta besides lentils?
I have
that tastes good?
There's a corn and I can't think of it. It's a corn pasta. It's gluten-free, but it includes corn in it. Can't think of what else the other one is.
Quinoa, you can get quinoa-based pasta and rice, brown rice pasta.
Yeah, brown rice pasta is one of my favorite. They sell it at Trader Joe's, so it's not everywhere, but it doesn't have any weird texture. So yeah, brown rice pasta. And then barley goes really good in goulash too. So barley is a grain.
Oh, wow.
Goulash. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Who's in group number 2? So you guys pass. You guys, yay! Okay, and then everyone remember what they say and we can vote on whose is the yummiest. Okay.
All right, and then for breakout room 2, there's Adriana, Ashley, Charles and Christina, and Delia. Which one of you would like to present?
I'm gonna do it. Christina actually put a meal together for our family. It's called raspberry chicken that she uses. It's like pre-cooked chicken strips from Costco, and we just cut those up in chunks, or grilled chicken from Costco, and cut those up in chunks, and then basically use the raspberry vinaigrette as the cooking oil in essence. And then we cut up the different colors of the bell peppers, and we put those in there, and then a bag of shredded carrots, and then basically just let that simmer pretty much for quite a while, and then use more of we use the first half of the bottle of vinaigrette, then use the second half, and if needed, we use a little bit of olive oil so that it doesn't quite burn. And then we use quinoa, and then we have croissant rolls with butter.
Beautiful. Over quinoa. Okay, and you have a little bit of butter in your dairy, yeah. And then you have all that help those good oils in your vinaigrette dressing, so that helps get that fat in there too that you need. So, beautiful. I'm gonna have my menu planned out for the whole week after this is over. Okay, who's next? Number 3.
Breakout room 3 had Earl and Amelia, Eva, Henry, Gina, and Graciela. So which one would you like? Who would like to present?
Okay, so we had 2 possible dishes. We had fish tacos with mango salsa, and we had a fried rice made out of quinoa. So with the fried rice made out of quinoa, we would do quinoa, of course, for the grain. We would do pineapple for the fruit. We would do a mixed vegetable bag, frozen mixed vegetable bag. We would do egg for the dairy, and we would do ham for the meat. And then for the fish tacos, we would do tilapia to keep the cost down. We would use corn tortillas as the grain. We would use lettuce, of course, and mango salsa, and put some cheese on it.
Okay, nice. Nice. What kind of lettuce? So this is not like picking on your group specifically, but just so everyone knows, what's the best kind of lettuce that you can buy if you like that? Say you like the iceberg crispiness.
Romaine.
Romaine, yeah. So if you like the iceberg crispiness, but you're not going to get anything but water from that, romaine has some more nutrients.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Beautiful. Is everyone else writing this down too, so you know what to eat next week? Okay. Beautiful. Okay, everyone likes our suggestion. Okay, who's next? I think we got five more groups.
Yes. So breakout room 4 is Jessica Friesma, Kat Haig, Kat Palmer, and Kiasha Brown.
I'll talk because we were having some technical difficulties with microphones. So we also did tacos, but in our family we do black bean tacos. We'll cut ground beef with black beans, or we can just do straight up black beans with the taco seasoning. We said we could have rice with it, but it could also be the like tortilla chips. Salsa, we said, for some veggies. Sour cream and cheese for dairy. And then we said for fruit, we would just have some yogurt and fruit for dessert or something like that afterward. I think that's everything.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, those I forget who was talking about their son doesn't like fruit. So yeah, making like the popsicles, like blending up the fruit in a smoothie and then making smoothie popsicles. That's a great dessert for yeah,
perfect.
Especially for kids who don't want to eat fruit. And when you need to add fruit to your 5 categories in your dinner plate. Okay.
All right, group 5, Kelly Johnson, Lena, Melanie Perez, and Melanie Sepulveda. Which one would like to present?
Our group talked about taco salad. Others have mentioned tacos too. And we said that we would use black beans, shredded romaine lettuce, fresh salsa, Greek yogurt, corn tortilla chips, black olives, garnished with a little bit of shredded cheese, and then a side of pineapple for dessert.
I think everyone likes tacos. But that's a great healthy meal, especially, I mean, Taco Tuesdays. It's a great way to just not have to worry about dinner when you know you're gonna make tacos.
All right, and then group 6, we have Melinda, Michelle, Nasambi, and Rachel. Who will be presenting?
It is I, Ryko. So we had a couple different ideas. I know tacos was mentioned a few times, but we one of the ideas was quinoa with like baked chicken, chicken breast, or you could even do a rotisserie. Those are pretty cheap. And then salad or spinach, like sauteed spinach. And then melon was one of the popular fruits of our group. So a melon for dessert and a cup of milk to drink with the dinner. Or a taco bowl with quinoa, cheese, sour cream, like lettuce, tomatoes, or salsa, if you want to make that. And then stuff that you have in your pantry, instead of getting a taco seasoning, just making your own taco seasoning with onion powder, garlic powder, cumin, chili powder if you want it, or, you know, fresh garlic or fresh onion and tomatoes.
Make taco seasoning.
What?
Sounds awesome.
Did we miss anything?
No, I think you covered with both dishes. I think you covered both. I wasn't totally checking off each food group with your tacos, but definitely with the quinoa, chicken, spinach, melon. Was there a dairy in that one? Oh, you said a glass of milk?
A glass of milk, and then also for the taco bowl, it would be sour cream and cheese. Or instead of sour cream, you could do the Greek yogurt, the non-fat Greek yogurt for that too. We actually had tons of ideas, but those were like the, you know, main ones we talked about.
Yeah.
Yep. I think we planned a whole week.
Okay. So in one of our next activities, we're gonna plan it's called Super Broke, and we're not gonna do a whole week. We're gonna do 3 days though, and I'm gonna give you a dollar amount. So it's gonna be a Super Broke week, and we'll plan a whole 3 days.
Okay, team. We already have our whole 3 days, guys. Whoever was on our team, you're welcome. Teamwork. Okay, I'll be quiet. Sorry, guys.
No, you're fine.
All right, next group we have Randy, Sabrina, Sarah, and Sharice.
We decided as a group that we would do a big pot of red beans and rice, and we would make the rice brown rice. We would use veggies sauteed in butter, including tomatoes, which we couldn't decide on if tomatoes were a fruit or a vegetable. So if tomatoes were not the fruit, we would have fruit juice to drink with dinner, and maybe some cheese on top for the dairy. And yeah, that's it.
Perfect. When I first became a vegetarian, that's all I ate was red beans and rice. It's so filling, and that's a good one for, you know, like our guys who are like, oh no, we need meat in our dinner. The red beans and rice is filling like any other kind of meat. So
It's really hearty too.
Yeah, hearty, and yeah. Especially when you make it with that brown rice, it'll fill you up a long time. And tomato is technically a fruit, so it has all those phytonutrients and enzymes that fruit have, and a lot of vitamin C that fruit has.
Nice. Nailed it.
Seed is like a technicality thing, but anyway. Okay, last one. We're running out of time too.
Final group is Sierra, Tabitha, Tanya, Vanessa, and Yolanda.
I can present if everyone's okay with that. I wrote this stuff down. So we came up with doing turkey chili with a salad. I know that the rules said that if it was in our pantry, it didn't count towards our total, but we kept it under anyway. So I've got all of these ingredients right now. But chili seasoning, a pound of ground turkey, and I buy it in bulk, so it ends up only being $3.50 a pound for the 7% fat. But like $1 worth of beans, $1 canned tomatoes, a little thing of Greek yogurt, and some crackers, with lettuce and some cucumbers on the side. And if the tomatoes don't count as a fruit, then slice up a little green apple into the salad.
Beautiful. And your grain?
Was crackers.
Crackers.
Whole wheat crackers.
So whole wheat crackers is good. Yeah. So that those Ritz, guys, check out the whole grain Ritz. They're delicious. Okay. Okay. So number 1 is our goulash. Okay, with lentil pasta. I don't know if you know what goulash is. It's a really tomato-y vegetable dish that is almost like a Italian soup. It's really good. Okay, we have raspberry chicken vinaigrette. And we have fish tacos, or black bean tacos, or red beans and rice, or a quinoa chicken dish, or turkey chili. Maybe
So-
chatting would be best. Okay, we'll just chat. That works. Okay, fish
Yeah.
tacos, fish
Yeah,
tacos.
That works.
Okay, so all of them are like, there's a good mix of everybody, but I think the fish tacos are the number 1. Yeah, but the turkey chili is popular. That red beans and rice. Okay, and then in the beginning, a whole bunch of people said the raspberry chicken. So they all sound beautiful. And so this is just a good exercise, like how we're doing this together. How much easier was it to come up with a dinner idea when we're all chatting, right? How much easier is that when you get home and you're tired from work going, oh, I don't want to make anything. So use each other, use our time, use our families, and talking about food, talking about nutrition isn't always the most fun, but talking about food is fun. So everybody likes to talk about food. So always ask your girlfriends, any chefs you meet, anybody at the farmer's market you're buying produce from, like, what is a great recipe for this? And people always have at least one recipe that they can cook, and they can cook good. So get that one recipe from everybody, and then you'll have a whole plethora of recipes. One thing I want to say, just to kind of wrap it up, is when we look at my plate and we think about eating healthy, okay, a lot of people tend to think, oh, we can't have cookies, we can't have ice cream, we can't have crackers, I can't have pizza, I can't. So don't think about it that way, okay? When you want to think about eating healthy, think about going to the grocery store, and how all the sections we went around, and you guys have probably heard this before, are on the edge of the grocery store. So going into the produce section, and instead of thinking about what you can't have, think about what kind of vegetable can I choose? Okay, get some of those vegetables. What kind of protein is inexpensive and lean that is good for my family that I can choose? Okay, what kind of grain should I try that I haven't tried before? So don't think about all the stuff you can't have. Think about what you can have, okay, and think about how to combine spices with that to make it delicious, okay? Because all these ingredients are in all the restaurant. When we go to the restaurant, we order, food that's whole food prepared for us. But when we're cooking at home, it's hard to think of that energy. So you get a few that are quick. They don't all have to be fancy, just quick meals, okay? And the other thing, since we're with Parents Challenge, that I want you guys to think about this, okay? Miss Deborah has given you guys help, or not given you, but helped you provide opportunity, okay? If you don't like the school that your kids are in, you have opportunity now to pick a different school, okay? We want the best for our children, all right? So if you think about eating a bunch of unhealthy things and like what effect it's going to have on your kids as they grow older, knowing that everything that kills Americans, every kind of health issues that we face, a lot of them are fixed by diet, okay? So you have a choice every time you go to the grocery store to do the best that you can for your kids, okay? So try not to think of it as a chore, try and think of it as like pat yourself on the back and like reward yourself and feel good about it every time you do it. And then if you reward yourself emotionally every time you cook healthy for your kids, then eventually you're going to feel better about it, and it'll just get easier and easier the more. Okay, so Don't think about what you can't have. Think about what the healthy stuff is that you can have, and then think about it as an investment in your children's health as well. And then think about sharing recipes, ideas with people, and using spices to make it delicious. And we'll talk more about all that next time. If you guys, Catherine, I believe, is going to send you guys out an email after this. And so I really, 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 if you could do, whether you like the class or not, if you can at least do the survey, that's how we get our funding. So if I don't get people to do this, then I don't have a job. And I can't join you guys for all these fun things. So please, please, please take the time to check your emails and fill out the survey later. And if you guys are looking for recipe ideas right now, we have our Cooking Matters. You just Google Cooking Matters recipes. Every recipe on our website feeds a family of 4 for under $10. Okay, everyone has all the food groups in it, and everyone is healthy. Okay, so there's a whole bunch of them. You can try to show you on here, but there's a drop-down menu, and you can pick it by, I need a meal that's ready in 30 minutes. I need a meal for someone with diabetes, whatever, and you can go in there and get good recipes, ideas. I'm going to send you that little booklet, or Miss Deborah will send it to you. But in this Cooking Matters at Home, there's a lot of other good tips and ways, especially a lot of it's focused for COVID right now. And there'll be links to these in your email. So good information in there if you want to learn and practice eating home. Okay. I think Catherine has another poll to launch.
Yes, I'm launching that now.
Okay. And I will just look through the chat and see if there's any questions you guys want to answer. Oh, apple crisp. Everyone's talking about apple crisp for dessert. That is an excellent dessert. It has oats, apples, and it's delicious and easy to make. You can make it in 10 minutes. Oh, so Earl and Amelia said there's an app that takes all your ingredients and spits out dish ideas. Okay, so that's a really good app to have. If you don't know the name of it, a trick I use is I just Google, like, I type in a couple ingredients. Like, I found a good recipe. I had like tuna fish and peas or whatever, and it gave me, I Googled that and it gave me like 5 recipe ideas for that.